hope you're doing well and welcome to the Horn Broadcasting Channel. My name is Mtalam Kosia. Kenya's political temperatures are rising already, and even though the next general election may still seem far away, the battle over President William Ruto and the future leadership of the country has unofficially begun. Across political rallies, television debates, social media spaces, and closed-door meetings, one major question is dominating national conversation. Will Kenya become a one-term presidency under Ruto, or will it survive the political storm and secure a second term? This is no longer just an ordinary political debate. It is becoming a national political contest shaped by economic frustrations, shifting alliances, generational anger, regional calculations, and the growing pressure of public expectations. For supporters of President William Ruto, the argument is simple. They say every government deserves enough time to implement its agenda. They argue that the current administration inherited massive debt, struggling economy, high unemployment, and a difficult global economic environment. According to them, expecting quick miracles within a short period of time is unrealistic. But for critics, the situation looks completely different. Many Kenyans are asking hard questions about the cost of living, taxes, unemployment, fuel prices, housing levies, and economic hardship. Across many parts of the country, there is visible frustrations among citizens who feel life has become increasingly difficult despite promises of economic transformation. And this frustration is now feeding political momentum. The one-term narrative against President William Ruto is growing louder. Opposition leaders and critics are beginning to frame the next election not simply as another political contest, but as a referendum on the administration performance. The message is direct. If Kenyans are dissatisfied, then they have the constitutional power to remove a government after one term. However, Kenyan politics is never straightforward. Historically, removing an incumbent president through the elections in Kenya has proven extremely difficult. Incumbency carries enormous political advantages: state visibility, government machinery, national networks, influence over development agendas, and the ability to build coalitions across the regions. This is why many analysts believe that one-term slogan alone may not be enough unless the opposition builds a strong, united, and organized political movement. And that is where the real political battle begins. Who exactly will challenge Ruto? That question itself is creating tension inside the opposition. Different political figures are positioning themselves for influence, relevance, and possible presidential ambitions. Some leaders are trying to reinvent themselves politically, while others are attempting to capture energy of younger voters who are increasingly frustrated with traditional politics. The emergence of Gen Z political activism in Kenya has also challenged the political atmosphere drastically. Young Kenyans are becoming more vocal, more organized online, and more willing to challenge established political structures. Many are no longer loyal to traditional ethnic voting patterns that have shaped Kenyan elections for decades. This shift is making Kenyan politics more unpredictable than before. For the first time in many years, economic issues appear to be overshadowing ethnic politics in the national conversations. Citizens are increasingly discussing taxes, jobs, healthcare, corruption, public debt, and governance rather than only tribal alliances. And this trend could redefine the next election entirely. President Ruto himself remains one of the most skilled political mobilizers in Kenya's modern political history. His rise from humble beginnings to the presidency created a powerful political narrative that resonated with many ordinary citizens. He built his campaign around hustler movement, presenting himself as the voice of ordinary Kenyans against political dynasties. But governing is different from campaigning. Now the expectations are much higher. Kenyans are not only listening to speeches anymore, they are evaluating results. And this is where the pressure of the administration continues to grow. The government insists that painful economic policies being introduced today are necessary for long-term recovery. Officials argue that difficult reforms are unavoidable if Kenya wants to stabilize its economy, reduce debt dependency, and create sustainable growth. Yet critics counter the burden of these reforms is falling too heavily on ordinary citizens, while political leaders continue enjoying privileges and luxury. This perception is politically dangerous because public anger of economic inequality can quickly become electoral anger. Meanwhile, the opposition senses opportunity. The anti-government mood in some sections of the country is giving opposition figures renewed energy. Political rallies are becoming more aggressive. Public criticism is intensifying. Social media campaigns against the government policies are growing daily. The political environment is slowly transforming from governance into campaign mode much earlier than expected. But there is another important factor shaping the coming election: coalition politics. Kenya's elections are rarely won by individuals alone. They are won through coalitions, regional kingpins, and strategic political alliances. Behind the scenes, negotiations are already beginning. Leaders are calculating while alliances could deliver votes, while regions are shifting politically, and which political figures still command influence. This makes the road to 2027 highly unpredictable. One major challenge for opposition is unity. Kenyan opposition politics has historically struggled with internal competition, leadership rivalries, and coalition breakdowns. If opposition leaders fail to unite around one strong candidate and one national agenda, then they may divide votes and strengthen Ruto's path to a second term. On the other hand, President Ruto also faces challenges within his own political camp. Managing political expectation among allies, regional leaders, and supporters is never easy. Internal dissatisfaction inside ruling coalition can quietly grow over time, especially when economic hardship affects political loyalty. Another major issue is trust in institutions. Kenya's elections are often emotionally charged because of historical disputes over electoral transparency and credibility. As political temperatures rise again, institutions like the Electoral Commission, judiciary, media, and security agencies will face enormous scrutiny. Kenyans will expect fairness, accountability, and transparency throughout the political process. The business community is also watching closely. Political uncertainty often affects investor confidence, markets, and economic planning. Many businesses fear prolonged political tensions and could slow economic recovery and reduce investor confidence in East Africa's largest economy. Regionally, Kenya's political stability matters beyond its borders. Kenya plays a major role in East African diplomacy, trade, peacekeeping, and regional security. Political instability in Nairobi can have ripple effects across the entire Horn of Africa and East African region. But perhaps the most important question is this: what kind of politics will define the next election? Will Kenya focus on issue-based politics centered around jobs, governance, and economic reform? Or will the country once again fall back into toxic ethnic mobilization, division, and political hostility? Many Kenyans, especially young people, are hoping for a new political culture, one that prioritizes accountability, development, and leadership competence over tribal loyalty and political propaganda. The coming months will reveal whether Kenya leadership are ready for that transformation. As the one-term versus two-terms debate continues gaining momentum, one thing is becoming clear: Kenya is entering another intense political season. Alliances will shift, political friendship will change, new movements will emerge, campaign narratives will dominate national conversations. And in the middle of all this stands the Kenyan voter, frustrated, hopeful, divided, and searching for leadership that can genuinely improve daily life. The fight to replace Ruto has begun, but the bigger battle may ultimately be about the future direction of Kenya itself. Will Kenyans choose continuity, believing the current administration deserves more time, or will public transformation create a powerful wave of political change? That decision will shape not only the next presidency, but also the future of Kenya's democracy, economy, and national unity for years to come. If you've got any comment, contribution, or any way to grow this discussion, please do so in the comment section. This is the Horn Broadcasting Channel. My name is Mtalam Kosia.